Mike Bryant. I'm the South Central U.S. Territory Manager for Craftco. And then a little bit about Craftco. Craftco is the world's largest producer of crack sealing material and equipment. And then a little bit about crack sealing itself. At Craftco, we are very passionate about crack sealing. We believe the crack sealing process should be the foundation of every pavement preservation program. And crack sealing is one of the most elementary, cost-efficient pavement management practices. I want to talk a little bit about the verb undermine as well. Definition of undermine is to erode the base or foundation. Also to damage or weaken. Now, what am I talking about here? Well, back in 2013, there was an article in the Washington Post, and the title was "Beneath the Surface, the Beltway Crumbles." And this was about the Beltway around the entire DC Metroplex area. And within that article, there was a little insert that talked about how a highway falls apart. And then basically what it said is, soon after the ribbon is cut on a new highway, weather and constant traffic, especially large heavy trucks, begin to cause surface cracks. If left untreated, the cracks get deeper and completely break through the asphalt, letting water seep into the rock and soil beneath it. Eventually, this underlying layer softens, making it less able to support the pavement. Additional cracks occur more easily. In winter, the water below the asphalt expands and freezes, buckling the road. When it thaws, it leaves a gap that, when broken through by a tire, becomes a pothole. Patches and repaving temporarily smooth the surface, but the underlying problem remains. Now, what's the one word that I'm talking about here? Undermine. We're basically undermining the road. Man, I'll get a rise out of you guys before this is over with. Can I hear it one more time, please? Undermine. Okay. I said earlier that crack sealing is one of the most elementary, cost-effective pavement maintenance practices. Now, I'm an employee with Craftco, and you say, Mike, well, that's kind of a biased opinion, isn't it? Wouldn't you say? And you know, maybe it is, but what I'm going to do today is give you examples of different agencies, contractors, distributors, about best practices and different ideas and what they're doing to maintain and preserve their roads. Let's start with the Missouri Department of Transportation. Back in '08, there was a pavement maintenance seminar given for MoDOT. And as part of the literature, it stated that if you can't do any other form of maintenance, you must crack seal. And all other surface treatment performances, including chip seals, depend on how well the pavement's cracks have been sealed. Now let's get into some best practices. Liberal, Kansas, the pheasant hunting capital of the world. If you've ever been to Liberal, small town in the southwestern portion of Kansas, around 20,000 people, and it truly is the pheasant hunting mecca of the world. The city of Liberal has embraced the concept of pavement preservation. Liberal has had a dedicated pavement maintenance plan in place since 1997. And if you drive these streets, they're old, 30, 40, 50-year-old asphalt roads, but I challenge you to find a pothole in the entire town. You will not. It's all about ride quality. I interviewed with Public Works Director Joe Seeley in December of 2013 to obtain a better understanding of Liberal's pavement maintenance practices. Joe has over 20 years of experience as Liberal's Director of Public Works. The Public Works Department is responsible for road and bridge maintenance, water systems and wastewater, sewer and sanitation, golf course maintenance, engineering and new construction, and their total annual operating budget is $12 million. Here's the details of Liberal's pavement preservation program. 25% of the streets are treated every year on a rotating basis. The streets are crack sealed in the spring, followed by chip seal in the fall. And if you'll remember our demo that we did yesterday with the Vance Brothers demos, we were told that in a similar way, they allow those crack seal parking lots to oxidize a while. It's preferable actually for at least a season for that crack seal material to oxidize, solidify before you come in with the surface treatment. And that's exactly what they're doing here. 80% of the work is done by contractors. Work sent out for bid annually, and 20% of the work is done in-house. Cost of the program is $450,000 annually, or 4.8% of the total public works operating budget. And again, to reiterate, 25% of Liberal streets and roads are crack sealed and chip sealed every year. Step one is crack sealing in the fall, and in the summer, the surface treatment. Now let's talk about the New Mexico Department of Transportation. New Mexico consistently ranks in the top 5 nationally for overall highway performance. Some notables for the New Mexico Department of Transportation. New Mexico has crack sealed their road system for over 30 years. New Mexico has routed cracks prior to crack sealing for over 30 years based on manufacturers' recommendations. And something interesting here, the way contractors are paid obviously varies around the U.S. Some are paid by the linear foot, some are paid by the lane mile. New Mexico pays by the lane mile, but they also pay by the pound quantities going into the machine within the lane mile. Steve Dismukes is the owner of Pavement Sealants and Supply in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Steve has worked within the pavement industry for over 30 years. Here's a couple of quotes from Steve. Engineers would never lay concrete down without installing an expansion joint. It's the same concept as with routing and sealing cracks. Any opening must be sealed to prevent deterioration to the base layer. Regarding routing, I consider crack sealing the same concept as sealing a window in your home with silicone. You want to work the material down into the joint. Routing allows you to more easily work the crack seal material down inside the joint. Here's a little bit about the New Mexico DOT route and seal, how and why. And here's basically 3 scenarios. You have your untreated crack. The unsealed cracks grow larger because of intrusion of water and debris. Then you have the non-routed sealed crack, basically from 1 to less than 4 years protection, and then up to 7+ years with the routed and sealed crack. And a little detail on that. You have your untreated crack. You have that router blade or bit that centers over the top of the crack. And once the routing is complete, you get a nice uniform opening with clean sidewalls. The routing creates a reservoir that holds the sealant, a nice, good, tight band of sealant. You get good adhesion to your sidewalls. And also that reservoir accommodates movement. Obviously you get expansion of the crack in the wintertime, and you get contraction of the cracking in the summertime. And whichever season you're in, whichever way that crack is moving, that routed crack accommodates for that movement. Okay, Overland Park, Kansas. And Mr. Ross had a really nice presentation yesterday. I actually also include Overland Park in my presentation for a few slides. And I think it's important to underline what the city of Overland Park is doing. I mean, they really do a phenomenal job of maintaining their streets and roads. And I'm sure many of you drive those roads. They are in excellent condition down there. 175,000 population, south suburb of Kansas City. The city maintains approximately 2,000 road lane miles. 80% plus are asphalt. Their annual budget is approximately $12 million. The new roads are crack sealed year 3, following by chip seal during the later years. And again, the newer roads, highlight newer roads, are given priority for maintenance. I talked with Jeff Hunt back in 2014. Jeff is the street maintenance manager for Overland Park. Jeff has over 20 years experience in street maintenance. And a couple of things he had to say. I want to spend my money on my good streets. Our experience tells us that it is much less expensive to keep a good street in good condition. Crack sealing is the most important thing that we do. Crack sealing prevents base failure. Another thing that I thought was interesting about Overland Park, and Mr. Ross went into this in more detail, but the city of Overland Park uses dedicated software to manage maintenance budgets and map the city streets by color coding. And he also said every year summer interns from the University of Kansas Engineering Department walk a percentage of the 2,000 lane miles and assign a pavement condition index to every mile. And the PCI is from 1 to 100, 1 being the worst. And within that software, you can click on any lane mile and pull up its entire maintenance history as well as its future maintenance schedule. That's pretty strong. ArcMap is the software program. And here's an example of their maintenance map, their color-coded maintenance map. And you can see the coding and the streets that are scheduled to be treated for the different years. Centerville, Missouri. Centerville is a small town in southeast Missouri, one of Missouri historic towns, population of 1,875. They have a total of 19 and a half total road miles. Now, why in the world am I talking about a town that small? I had an interview with Public Works Director Mike Smith in January 2014 to obtain a better understanding of Centerville's plans for road improvements. Centerville's objectives. They passed an $800,000 5-year bond for road improvements in 2012. And I think all of you know how hard it is to pass that type of bond. Any kind of property tax increase like that is very difficult to get passed. The bond will be financed by a property tax increase. And they basically decided they've got roughly 20 miles of road. They're going to rebuild a quarter of their roads. They're going to overlay another quarter of their roads, and the remaining half of their roads were sufficient that didn't need rebuilding or overlay. But they're going to begin a scheduled maintenance program, crack sealing, chip seal. So the bottom line is these people in this small town in southeast Missouri, they decided we are going to have good roads. We are going to get the money, and once we have the money, we're going to do it in the right way. But by gosh, we're going to have good roads in our town. What happened? 4.5 road miles have been rebuilt. They did do the overlay for 3 to 4 inch overlays for another 5 miles. They purchased one of our melters to begin crack sealing and begin a regular maintenance program of those 20 miles. So I just saw that story. A distributor of mine told me about it, and I thought it was pretty significant and how determined these folks are down there to have good roads. Okay, let's go to the Texas Department of Transportation. Bastrop, Texas. I spoke with Roy Dill, the TxDOT area engineer in Bastrop, Texas. I wanted to talk to Roy to obtain a better understanding of the TxDOT crack seal program. Roy has over 22 years experience in pavement preservation, working for the Texas Department of Transportation. What TxDOT does is a yearly visual analysis. Crack seal projects are sent out to contractor bid. TxDOT pays by the lane mile, and the winter crack seal treatments are followed by summer surface treatments. So what does the Texas Department of Transportation have in common with Liberal, Kansas? They're doing the same thing. And they both have excellent roadways. So, one last quote from Roy with TxDOT. Crack sealing keeps moisture out of the subgrade and base grade. The more we can keep that from happening, the longer our roads will last. Regarding all of these agencies, key thing is they all have a consistent plan. They do a yearly analysis of their roadways. Timing is very important on the different treatments. The newer roads should be a higher priority for treatments. Many of them do crack sealing, followed by their surface treatments. And what do you get by adhering to all of this? You get good results. My last few slides here, I have 3 of my colleagues here from Craftco today. I have Cheryl Jones, our regional sales manager, Kathy Summers, our marketing events manager. Chris Stebbing is here from the upper Midwest. Chris covers many of the states of the people represented here, and I know many of you have had really good conversations with Chris this week. And of course myself. We'd love to hear from any of you regarding any instances or stories or anything that you have where you are sort of going above and beyond in pavement preservation, especially regarding, of course, our interest is crack sealing and the things that go along with it. So we'd love to hear from you if any ideas that you have. Questions real quick? Thank you.